All right. Thank you so much for clicking on. I'm Joe Terozine, and this is RamView. And I want to thank everybody for clicking on, and best of all, the people that have subscribed. I've gotten more hits than I ever thought I could. And so, yes, yes. Okay. It is a stone group. I want to say thank you to everyone that's clicked on and subscribed. I never, ever thought that would happen, as I'm just doing some test runs here, because this will build out from here into a podcast. And not sure, again, the boy's working alone here. I'm up a little later today. I'm actually working in the sun, but still, I don't got a producer. I don't got any brilliant minds behind me. But that's kind of, hold on a second. It's my phone. Okay. Hey man, what's up? Yeah. I had my girl call you the other day, but you didn't pick up. Well, I noticed you had time for everybody else since Sunday. I was hoping you'd carve out a little time for us. No, we're not live right now. Yeah, I hear you, but dude, here's the deal. This is why I called. You're one of the richest men in America, probably the richest owner in the league. You don't need the revenue, bro. What you need is the goodwill of the people. You need to make a statement that has nothing to do with COVID and masking, because everyone makes a statement about COVID and masking these days. What you need to make a statement about is that families and not drunken jackwagons are welcome at SoFi. Yeah, so either get rid of the booze because you don't need the dough, or create a voucher system entitling the adults to one brewski per game. For goodness sakes, if you could check someone's vax status, you should be able to manage the drunken horde. Yeah, I'm just trying to help you look good, man. Just trying to help you look good. Yeah, okay. But who's got more power? You, the richest owner in the league, or some pencil neck geek in Goodell's office? That's what I'm saying. That's what I thought. So you can make this happen, can you? And regain my respect? Thank you. Okay. I got to go. I got to get on the air. Yeah, I got to go. Hey, I'll call you when I can. Okay, we'll get tacos. All right. Okay, dude. Bye. Dude, my friend Stan won't leave me alone. I found out doing a show and he wants to get all in on it and stuff, but he makes time for everybody else. But when we need him, he doesn't make the time. And now, he's looking for some help. But yeah, he's got issues there at the stadium with people getting hammered. And I just told him to clean up his act, So, okay, my social issues are almost done for the day. And I kind of wanted to hit on a couple of other things that are happening around the NFL. The Rams have lost Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he'll be there for the Super Bowl, I'm sure. But the OC, which that's kind of a strain when you think Sean McVay's your head coach and you've got an OC title. Okay. They want to call Kevin O'Connell an OC. All right, great. But Kevin O'Connell was hired by the Minnesota Vikings to be their new head coach. They chose him over Raheem Morris, who interviewed, and they chose him over Jim Harbaugh, who went back to Michigan and such. So I thought it was kind of interesting is that the new GM in Minnesota is, and I'm going to below the name, it's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, comes from the Browns. He's African-American or Black American, whatever you want to say. And he's African-American, Black. And the Bears hired Ryan Poles as their GM. And he's from Kansas City. And he's got an extensive background in the NFL. And he's Black, African-American, whatever you want to say. We'll have to work this out so I can get a more consistent phrase there. But they join Andrew Berry, Martin Mayhew, Chris Greer, Brad Holmes, I should probably say Brad Holmes, Lions, Chris Greer, Dolphins, Martin Mayhew, the Washington Commanders, Washington Texans, and Andrew Berry with the Browns as African-American GMs. Those are the ones off the top of my head. And here it was interesting that in the midst of all the Brian Flores now, and now it's I'm reading somewhere. I don't click on all the links because it is just clickbait. Now Bill Belichick's part of the problem, and the mob is going to need a scalp. And do I think Brian Flores is a bad dude? No, but I think he's got to be able to, as he dictates to his players, he needs to dictate to his lawyers to not continue to throw the kitchen sink out there and stay focused on the stuff that's going on, right? And stay focused on something happened in Miami, and definitely that business with New York, the fake interview. But if you're starting to throw everybody under the bus, and he needs to correct his lawyers because he's going to lose goodwill if he does that. And no, he's not Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's a bum who lost his job to Blaine Gabbert and did not take a bullet for the team. He became a multi-millionaire over and over and over again because he signed with Nike and he fit the suit. And so I think it's degrading to Brian Flores to compare him to Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is a bug. He just needs to go away. But Brian Flores has a case, and I'd like to see Brian Flores successful. But if they keep throwing everything out there instead of saying laser focused, it's going to be a problem. But both Eberflus, who was hired by Ryan Poles in Indianapolis, and obviously Kevin O'Connell, hired by Adolfo Mensa in Minnesota, are white. And it complicates things when you want to talk about systemic racism. It just does. You got black GMs hiring non-black coaches. Martin Mayhew's coach is Ron Rivera. Andrew Berry's coach is Kevin Stefanski. Brad Holmes' coach is Dan Campbell. And you got to give those guys the benefit of the doubt too, that they're not just attaboying and doing what the owners tell them to do, because Brian Flores isn't the only guy in America with integrity. I'm sure Mensa, Poles, Berry, Mayhew, Greer, and Holmes all have integrity, and they're going to hire who they feel is best for the job. And so the systemic argument of racism takes a hit, and so you got to look at that and think about it. Now, is Stephen Ross an idiot or a jackwagon and possibly racist in Miami? Yeah. Is there something going on with that Rooney Rule that's an absolute disaster? Absolutely. But the hiring of Eberflus and O'Connell by black GMs just makes you stop and think in terms of systemic. Okay, there. I've done my bit to change the world for today. So I'm through with social issues. Let's get to the irritating. Have you noticed right now there's a lot of Ram fans? All of a sudden, there's a lot of Ram fans walking around LA and driving down the freeway. A couple of playoff wins, and it's horns up, man. Yeah, this is why I bang on the horns up crowd. They're the crowd that McVay's an idiot. They're the crowd that the Rams will blow it again. We never should have traded Goff, and then they win, and then it's horns up, man. And so I've always been suspicious of Rams fans ever since I was a kid. I've already talked about that in my columns and such, and I don't know if I talked about it here, but homie, don't play that. I'm just not into the horns up crowd, and I'm always suspicious of diehard Ram fans. I'm just always suspicious. You got to prove your credentials to me. I'm a bit of a snob. I admit it. I'm an elitist. To me, it starts with, hey, can you name the starting lineup in 1973? Can you name every Rams starting quarterback beginning with Roman Gabriel? I know that sounds very snobby, but that's kind of my baseline. And I know not everybody can do that, but if you can get some semblance of that, then I'll give you the respect, and so I'm very suspicious of the horns up crowd and everyone wearing Rams gear. And, and there's nothing more plastic and fake than going out and buying NFC championship hats and shirts and stuff. And I don't know, right? It feels cheap, and stuff. So, but it leads to this question. Here's the question. The Super Bowl appearances in St. Louis, do they count? Does the title in 99 and the appearance in 2001 count? from my end, I vote to approve SB 34 and SB 36, right? Super Bowl 34 and Super Bowl 36. Yes, Georgia, the only Wicked Witch that Dorothy didn't kill, she abducted our team, and emotionally, it was like they were on the back of a milk box. And you never had that closure. She took our team away. I mean, really, think about it. Who leaves Southern California besides Al Davis, egomaniac, right? And Georgia, who dubiously took control of the team after Carol Rosenblum died. So they took them away, and you didn't get a chance to disown the Rams because of performance or something. You never got a chance because they were gone. And even though they weren't playing well when they left, it still was your team. You didn't dismiss them as your team. I made a conscious decision to dump the Dodgers because when they went to Spectrum, Time Warner, and eliminated 73% of their fan base from watching them on TV, I was done. And then they denied us Vin Scully his final 2 years. It's like, I don't need that. So I made a conscious decision to disassociate my fandom from the Dodgers. I'm a Mets guy now. And I was kind of a Mets guy as a second team. But the whole sports writer Oscar Madison vibe, it was the first World Series I saw in 73. So the Mets were an easy transition for me because I kind of always rooted for them. But I tried to disown the Rams when the Rams moved. I tried. They were far away and they were rotten and they were lousy, but they were still the Rams to me. Outside of a 3 or 4 year window, they were the greatest show on turf. Actually, a 3-year window of the greatest show on turf. And then, they hung around. Mark Bolger had some good years early on. And honestly, Matt Stafford's the best quarterback the Rams have had since Mark Bolger. Mark Bolger is just a tragedy that he had to spend all that time in St. Louis with that Rams team with Linehan and Spagnuolo and that whole cabal of bad mojo there because Mark Bolger was a good quarterback who got the snot beaten out of him. But I stayed a Rams fan, and that includes the 13 years before McVay's arrival from 2004 to 2016. I had the Sunday ticket, TiVo. I don't think that exists anymore. I had a DVR, and it was a lot of, as Jeff Fisher would call, a 7-9 Bolshoi. But I could never disavow the Rams. I rooted for the Redskins. I rooted for the Chiefs. And I love the tomahawk chop and I love hail to the Redskins. But when they would lose important games, as I gave them some support, I was over it in an hour. But I never got over a Rams loss. Even if it was week 7 to the Chargers and there was a fumble or something like that, I'd go crazy. When they were 2-14, I went crazy. About the closest I ever came to utter disappointment and despair was when Bradford got hurt, and then I had to see Sean King. It's like, unbelievable. So I'm asking you, does the 2001 and 1999 Super Bowl appearances, do they count? As a Rams fan, for me, they do. It was time in the wilderness. It was time they had gone wandering in the wilderness. We had to wait until Georgia moved on to Herbie Ward, and then Stan the Man, my friend who calls me once in a while. We had to get him to buy the team and bring it home, and we have it now. But in that interim time, those 20 years when the Rams were gone, does that count? Or did you go into suspended animation there and hibernation and say, I'm not going to root for them until they come back? I couldn't. I'm curious what you think. Couple of things I was going through here, and I'm going to do deep dives into the Super Bowl starting next week. That gives TMZ time to produce more film and footage to bring somebody down and maybe get a couple of scalps before the game starts. And I'm sure the NFL is on hyper damage control right now as I'm not saying Brian Flores, but as his attorneys are doing everything they can. If I can say don't trust a minister all the time, I can honestly say don't trust a pastor all the time. You just don't trust people all the time. And so you got to be careful with those lawyers, right? And because they're trying to make a name for themselves, put dough in their pocket as well. So anyway, getting the lighter stuff. I had my caffeinated nerddom moment. And I went back and I looked at all the Super Bowls, and it was a lot of fun. Do you realize they played 55 Super Bowls? There have been 110 starting quarterbacks, many repeated, right? 11 of them or 10 of them were with Tom Brady. We get that. 110 starting quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have started 55 Super Bowls. 47 colleges have been represented in those Super Bowls. Do you find it amazing that not one USC quarterback has ever started a Super Bowl game? Ever, right? They've been on the roster. I mean, Ray was on the roster for the 76 Raiders, and Pat Hayden busted a finger for the 79 Rams, but Ferragamo played that game, started that game. But no USC quarterback has ever started as a winner or a loser in a Super Bowl. I thought that was really interesting. Also, when I looked that up, no one from Georgia or LSU has ever won a Super Bowl. Fran Tarkington out of Georgia lost the game 3 times. David Woodley, who started and lost Super Bowl 17, played for LSU. And I'm curious about longtime Dolphin fans. What was Don Shula, right? Even Don Shula, the 17-0 Don Shula, considered one of the greatest coaches ever, Don Shula, Hall of Fame, Don Shula. What was Don Shula thinking by going with Woodley and not Don Strock? I mean, how many times did Strock come off the bench? Was it just something Strock didn't prepare? Was it something that he lacked? I mean, you had receivers, you had Nat Moore, you had guys before you got to Marino, and for some reason, Don Strock couldn't get off the bench, and David Woodley started, and of course, Super Bowl 17 went to the Redskins. But the irony of Super Bowl 11, that was the Vikings Raiders, and Super Bowl 17, that was Woodley's, are Tarkington's and Woodley's final and only Super Bowl appearances. And you know where they occurred? They occurred in the Rose Bowl, which is now in Los Angeles County or Los Angeles proper, right? Think about that. That's really interesting that the last time a LSU quarterback and a Georgia quarterback started a Super Bowl was right here in SoCal at the Rose Bowl. That's interesting. Now we've got Stafford from Georgia, Burrow from LSU starting Super Bowl 56. And here's something else. Again, the nerddom, the caffeinated nerddom. Both wear number 9. Do you know that no quarterback wearing number 9 has ever lost a Super Bowl? Jim McMahon won it for the 85 Bears. Drew Brees won it for the 2009 Saints. And Nick Foles in 2017. And also the interesting thing is none of those guys ever again started a Super Bowl. Now, Nick Foles, maybe some weird twist of fate can happen, but none of those 3 ever played in another Super Bowl. That number 9 is 3-0. And of course, we know that both Stafford and Burrow both wear number 9. I find it fascinating. I find it interesting. And I thought I'd get that out. The Bengals lead the Rams all time with an 8-6 record. The first meeting was in 1972 at the Coliseum. The last meeting was in 2019, and the Rams won both those games in the in-between time. There have been games. There was a classic. Well, I'm not going to say classic. There was a Monday night game in 76 where the Bengals beat the Rams, and that was really a kind of a changing moment for that Rams season because, of course, in the environment and culture we're in right now, the Rams lost that game, and immediately Chuck Knox and the Rams base, somehow it was James Harris's fault, right? And then the Rams went with Hayden, I think, the rest of the way in 76. And I think it was around that time, that's when everything got really shaky. And so the Rams lost that game in 76. They lost in 78, and they ended up playing in the NFC Championship game in 78, but they lost on a 40-plus yard field goal by Chris Barr. It was a Monday night game, listening to it on the radio. How archaic was that in the NFL, where the blackout rule, if you weren't sold out by Thursday, the Sunday game was blacked out in the home market. So that's how we grew up with Dick Enberg. And believe it or not, Don Drysdale is the color commentator. And so that Rams game in 78 was blacked out. Had to watch highlights of it and listen to it on the radio. The Rams lost in 81. That was the first season that everything really hit the fan with Georgia, players going down. It was near the end of Ray Malavasi, but they brought him back. That was the disaster season where Ferragamo had gone to Montreal in the CFL and failed. And 81 was the Rams ran Hayden out there, Jeff Rutledge, and even Dante Pastorini. And we thought, oh, maybe Pastorini is going to be something, but Pastorini was washed up. I think he had 2 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, or 3 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, something like that. And the Rams failed to make the playoffs in 81 for the first time since 1972. I thought that was interesting. And then in 84, the Rams played, and then all those games, 72, 76, 78, 81, Ken Anderson was the starting quarterback, and he was the starting quarterback in 84. And the Rams won that game, and I think the Bengals closed it to 17-14, and they tried an onside kick. And the onside kick took a great bounce, and Mike Gooman, remember Mike Gooman out of Penn State? Real good H-back type, fullback type for the Rams. He returned it 43 yards for a touchdown, and the Rams won that game. Then, of course, there was the disasters with the Rams teams in the 90s and stuff that was going on. Boomer Esiason only played against the Rams once as a Bengals quarterback. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, nerddom. Like I said, the deep dives will begin on Monday about Super Bowl 56. Again, this way I got time for TMZ to come up with stuff and tell me who's not playing and who gets banned, who gets set. Good news in terms of Joseph Sebastian Day, who was not having a bad year before he got hurt. Odds are he'll be back for this game. The thing was, Sebastian Day was having a solid year. His replacement, Greg Gaines, turned him into Wally Pipp, and now Greg Gaines had a super year. And I think Day is on that free agent list. I don't have it, but Sebastian Day is on that free agent list, and you got to wonder what his future is with the Rams, especially when you consider there's a Von Miller equation, there's an OBJ equation, and there's the idea of how do we work around some of these contracts to keep the band together. Joseph Noteboom, Peck, so far so good. I'm a big Joseph Noteboom fan. I don't want it to be Andrew Whitworth's last game, but if it is his last game as a Ram, God bless him. Retire his number if you want. Make him part of the front office or whatever. But I hope he lets the Rams know soon, because in March free agency hits, and I'd really love to have Joseph Noteboom locked up as the Rams left tackle, because I don't think you're gonna in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, even though the Rams have multiple picks. Those are all developmental picks where you develop the guys. Very few of them are Jordan Fuller, who immediately start and contribute. So you'd like to see Noteboom locked up because we think he's ready to play. As I said, Nick Scott. I don't know how you take Nick Scott out of the starting lineup. I think Jordan Fuller comes back. Weddle will go back into retirement. And then the question comes about Taylor Rapp. And I make a lot of jokes about Taylor Rapp, but I don't want that head injury to he might come back for this game. But like they say, with concussions, everyone's different. We don't know what's going to happen with Taylor Rapp, but we do kind of know this. I think Nick Scott's a little bit more effective. I'm not even going to argue for Terrell Burgess anymore because he doesn't seem to have the confidence of the coaching staff. As these coaching positions seem to wind down that are open in the NFL. And he keeps continuing to play well. Raheem Morris, I think the odds are really good that he's going to be back unless there's a falling out or some amazing job comes. I think Raheem Morris will be back as the DC. So that'll be another year with the DC. And let's say it, the defense has gotten better. I don't understand the fascination with Troy Reeder, but hey, okay, we're here. We're going to live with it. It looks better than it did at the end of Wade Wilson's run. Or not Wade Wilson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Wilson. Yeah, Wilson. I keep blowing his name right now. Wade Phillips. It looks better than it did at the end of his run. And so the defense seems to be getting a little bit better. I still worry about the middle of the field and such, but we'll see, right? So that's going to wrap it up right now. I actually got a couple minutes early. Be sure to hit like and subscribe to this site. I can't believe I got followers. I didn't think I would, but thank you so much. And share this link, leave some comments, share this link. And if you know some Ram fans, subscribe and we'll get this thing out here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and at JoeT13B, Facebook, Joe Tarosian, and of course at joetarosian.com. And you could read my columns and see stuff out there from other people like Steve Urena, who writes the Urena Express. I'm hoping will be back when baseball's back. And then College Hoops Breakdown done by Riley Saxon, which appears every Monday or Tuesday. And we get that up there, as well as I have stuff about writing columns and different things there for you to check out. I also link this show to that. Full disclosure, I am a pastor and I am a writer. I spent 21 years as a sports editor for Mid-Valley News and Mid-Valley Sports. My Fan View column, which I've written well over 1,000 columns, can be read every Monday at joetarosian.com. And From the Ram Cave appears every Friday at joetarosian.com. In fact, that's what I'm doing after I do the show. I've also written 6 books, 5 novels, and all can be found at Amazon. And I'm looking forward to it.
Remember this.
Okay, remember this.
40 men together can't lose.
Yeah, okay. So we know 40 men together can't lose. George Allen's right. But let's have 53 stick together for the Rams. Okay, guys, I just want to say thanks a lot. And we'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on Monday.